All right, we're live. Good evening from Shihab Burke. I'm Sam Shihab, and with me is my partner Brian Burke. And this is a time when we spend an hour together to discuss an immigration issue, a current event, and then move on quickly and take your questions. Just a quick introduction. We are partners in the law firm of Shihab Burke. We're an immigration law firm, specializes or focuses on employment immigration law and family immigration law. Have been doing this for decades, and we get together every, um, I guess, Monday at 6 o'clock Eastern time to
Yeah.
discuss a pressing issue. Today, we're bringing back an issue, kind of repackaging it, if you will, because there is some additional things related to H-1B. Is what we're seeing in the economy right now that's kind of struggling, and all our clients have been telling us, it's going to be a slow year, and we are starting to see it. So it's employment-based immigration implication surrounding layoffs, the things that we don't talk about often. And I cannot resist but starting to mention the Wall Street Journal article about computer science. This is released today under the education section. And basically, it's the headline. I'm going to read it. Computer science major graduates into a world of fewer opportunities. And if you read through this, it's telling you that US graduates in computer science are not finding jobs. And it goes on to produce a chart in which it tells you that the number of bachelor degree graduates from US universities has almost tripled in the last decade, producing more graduates than maybe the country can absorb.
Sure.
And that is huge, in my opinion. Now, this could
Well,
be a isolated article that is completely a dot, and then we move on, or it could be a beginning of a trend
I will
or a
give it some
switch.
context, Sam. I mean, it's hard not to follow the news trend of layoffs. Layoffs at big tech. Maybe my Google is because I'm always googling technology and that sort of thing. But maybe my search results are always sort of inclined to tell me those things. But I'm seeing regular headlines of layoffs of people in the tech industry. You know, and when those things seem to align. Too many, I guess, too many computer science graduates. Um, People can't find jobs, and also laying people off. It all goes together, right?
Yeah, and that's precisely what the article is saying. It's saying that tech giants, I'm going to just quote here, were expanding aggressively just a few years ago. Now, less need for entry level hires or shedding jobs. They're also increasingly relying on artificial intelligence, which could reduce the need for coders.
Yeah.
So we are entering a new era. We do see layoffs. As a matter of fact, I just booked a consultation from a gentleman who said, "Hey, Sam, I got laid off, and I've been watching you on YouTube, and you and Mr. Brian have been talking about starting your own business. I need to think about that seriously now. Talk to me about it." Um, and we have helped a lot of people
Yeah.
do exactly that, because that is a just basically the elephant in the room. Why don't you just use it? It's so obvious that this is the path. But the focus today is things that we don't really talk about too much
Yeah,
surrounding
maybe some just different
immigration.
angles on
Yeah.
on layoffs. We're usually when we talk about layoffs in this venue, we're talking about digging your heels in and staying in the United States. We're talking about changing to B status, extraordinary circumstances, EAD, 485J portability, starting your own business. I thought maybe it would just be fun to have a conversation, well, not a fun conversation because it's layoffs, but what are the ways that layoffs impact employment based immigration beyond that individual personal level. There, how does the layoff of somebody else impact me? For
Yeah.
example, you know.
So first of all, I think H1B cap, everybody ran and registered.
Yeah.
but the percentage of applicants may not meet the statutory limit, Brian, this year.
Yes, and if the number of filings don't amount to doesn't get USCIS to the 85,000 that they need, what does that mean, Sam? Maybe perhaps sometime in July or early August.
Be a second selection, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can see that.
Um, what do you think? What do you think about that Sam? In reality, you think it seems likely?
Oh yeah, very much so. As a
It's
matter of
looking like
fact,
that to like that to me. I have talked to a fair amount of people who've gotten skittish on their H1B filings.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah. We're seeing kind of a mixed bag. So we're seeing clients that are really going aggressive, and we're seeing clients that are saying, "I want to be cautious this year.
yeah,
I don't want to get ahead of myself."
yeah,
So yeah, we're seeing both of them, but we're seeing definitely those who are cautious.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I guess there's still time left until June 30th. There's still about close to a month and a half, a little bit less than a month and a half right now. And fundamentally, we see the biggest rush usually in the last, the very month of the H1B filing window. But again, it's just you and I, the people we're talking to, are saying, I'm gonna maybe hold back and not file for everybody who I thought I might have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is the impact in the labor certification, perm labor certification on layoffs when the government starts seeing there are layoffs in the computer field, the computer science, information technology area? What do you think that the government is expected to do?
Increase their scrutiny on perm processes. Maybe give a bit of context for what everybody's maybe doesn't know. So perm process, seeking a green card. If I wanted to sum it up in one sentence, it's your employer testing the U.S. job market so they can confirm that there's no U.S. worker ready, willing, qualified, and able to take the job they want to offer you, be your path to immigrate, right? So if your employer is out there, confirming that there's no U.S. worker ready, willing, qualified, and able, in a good economy, that's easy. Nobody's applying. They can't find anybody. In a world of layoffs, those perm job postings out there are likely to catch the attention of U.S. workers. Meanwhile, if somebody's filing a perm for you and your employer and their counsel basically say file that perm and tell the government, no, we couldn't find a software developer with a bachelor's degree and 5 years of experience, EB2 qualification at all, and heaven forbid if you're in Southern California, if you're in the Silicon Valley, something like that, Department of Labor is going to grab its collective chin and scratch it right off when they say, really, 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 really. And that can manifest in audits of perm cases.
So, just to be clear, so people
Sure.
understand, this does not impact labor certifications that are certified.
Yes, correct.
So, if your labor certification is certified, you're in good hands. You're moved on beyond the stage that the government can go back and scrutinize. Now, there's always a ability for the government to scrutinize those, but historically it has not been the
Yeah,
case.
they can reopen. Yeah, yeah,
But for those who have pending green cards, labor certifications, Brian, uh, these can definitely go to a completely different process. And it wasn't too long ago, even this year, that the Department of Labor was throwing around the idea of making computer science professions a Schedule A professions.
Well, Sam, you are now required to do some explaining because you need to tell everybody what Schedule A occupations are.
Yes, so Schedule A occupations were limited occupations right now. They are physical therapists, I believe nurses,
Yeah,
and sheep herders.
yeah,
Those are the three professions that are called Schedule A professions. Schedule A occupations, just to simplify it, is these that do not require a labor certification. You just file an I-140 and you skip the process of the labor certification. This is these positions. The government has concluded that there are clearly a shortage in this occupation. Therefore, a test of the labor market is no longer required,
sure.
and therefore, you it's wonderful if you are in these professions.
Yeah,
Um,
you get to skip a labor certification. There's no worry about problems there. No audits in the Department of Labor because there's nothing. You file the
yeah.
I-140, security your priority date. Great.
Then there was a talk by the U.S. Department of Labor that computer occupations maybe should be Schedule A.
Yeah, we can't get enough of them. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
on there. It's on. I think it's on. I don't know if they put it on the regulatory agenda. Is that like a regulation that comes from Sam?
it was on a, yeah, it was something that they want to propose.
Yeah,
But with what the Wall Street Journal is coming out with, and if that is in fact has time and time again proven to be a consistent pattern of difficulty finding jobs, and the computer science professions market start to decline, the salaries start to decline because of the abundance of immigrants coming in into this occupation, you can count on it that that's not going to happen.
yeah,
Not only that, but also obviously the reverse will happen, is that they will be tougher on these occupations going forward,
yeah,
in terms of the perm labor certification. And those in the pipeline, they could be audited more and slowed down more.
yeah. I mean, frankly, in the
Absolutely.
last several years, the audit in our collective experience here, the audit rate on labor certifications has been low, and it's been always in the back of our head is when is that shoe going to drop when they start, auditing, in volume again.
I think it's more of a manpower problem they have.
I would agree. I would
You
agree
know,
with that.
the problem. Well, I mean, I guess good news, bad news depends on who you're talking to,
Yeah,
right? But the facts are the facts. There's no filing fee for the
labor certification.
labor certification. The Congress did not give the Department of Labor the ability to charge a fee
Yeah,
for the labor certification, which is probably a big mistake. Well, not probably, definitely a big mistake, and therefore it is out of the taxpayers' money doing all these labor certifications.
yep. And
Uh,
they do them in volume. I think it's tens of thousands tons of them. Yeah, bottom line. Yeah,
so that's not something that's really helpful in building up manpower to really do a good
well,
job.
what is yeah, I mean, talk about manpower briefly in the labor certification area. They are taking over a year to approve a labor certification without an audit, and I guess that means they are reluctant to issue audits because one, it's going to make things take longer, and two, that's manpower, pulled away
Intensive.
from working on substantive cases.
Yeah.
If you could do 30 labor certifications in the time it takes to do one audit, it makes them, and they're already having a terrible backlog. Yeah.
What about impact on priority date, Brian? What do you think about that?
So I guess, fundamentally, Sam, there's a question, okay, tons of layoffs. Uh, if people get laid off, are they going to file for green cards? Are they going to actually, those who have been waiting for
Are they going to leave the
eight, nine, ten
country?
years, are they gonna leave? Are they gonna actually be able to file? It's not even leaving, Sam. It's hey, I worked for Google. Google. My priority date is 1 week off of current. I'm fired. I don't have an I-140 from anywhere else to get a job. That suddenly delays somebody's green card right there. That's and that's a realistic scenario. I've dealt with that scenario. I've consulted on that scenario.
On
And
the,
there are
I
the legit
mean,
people who go
yeah.
home, of course.
Hmm. Yeah.
But what do you think? Do you think that that's
I think the
enhancing movement?
impact is not direct or immediate on the
Mm,
priority date, in my opinion,
okay,
because those who spend a decade here, they're gonna call attorney Brian Burke and they're gonna say, "I just heard about self-employment.
sure.
Explain this to me, because it looks like I don't have a choice now. My kids are in high school, they're born here, or my kids are in middle school. They
Yeah,
don't want to go back home. My wife doesn't want to go back home. We have a house,
yeah.
and
Well,
they're staying. So I think the priority date impact is minimal in my judgment.
well, for
Just a
sure. The
judgment.
people who the people who have filed their I-45, yeah, they're gonna, you know, they're tuned in for that other half of the layoff conversation that we have. It's I've been here for 10 years. If I was born anywhere else in the world, I'd have a green card right now. I'm digging my heels in, and I've been working here for the last 10 years. I mean, I can find consulting work to smash together a job for myself through my own company. I'm done. No problem there. But I mean, the people who haven't gotten to file a green card, those are the other people I was thinking more about. Yeah,
Even those that leave,
yeah,
Brian, these people have priority dates.
this is very true.
and they can go for. They're gonna say, "Oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna go take a break for 3 years."
Well, I
Back home,
literally, yeah, I had that consult last week. It's I'm going to go away for a couple years, wait till my priority dates. What's the down?
yeah,
Is that viable, Sam? To basically, leave the country for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, waiting for a priority date to become current?
it's easy on paper. In reality, I've talked to a lot of people who've done that. I mean, some incredibly accomplished individuals
Yeah.
who um, who found it difficult to come back because, especially a couple with careers. One of them's career picked up in a very aggressive way back home. That person is not going to pick up and leave. Sometimes both of them, their career pick up and then they become senior level at U.S. companies abroad, and and then they're confronted with this
Life
switch.
happens,
Yeah,
essentially.
switch in lifestyle, and they're not younger anymore.
Yeah.
So they look at it and they're going to say, uh, I'm going to do it for my kids. I'm going to do it for my children. I don't want to do it for me. And then it gets complicated. It's easier said than done, but on paper, it looks easy.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it that before. I've met I don't know. It seems like a lot of those are based upon like really tight relationships with the company. I can think of one client we had as a gentleman who's just said, I'm going to go to nuts to H1B. I'm going to go to Canada for a while, and when my priority date's current, I'll get a green card through the consulate. And I think he's going to be fine because he has a tight relationship with the company. But companies change too. It's they get bought and sold, and sometimes the nature of the business changes. I think the thing that worries me most is, well, one is whoever is going to employ you going to be able to tolerate the pain of going through consular processing, which can take a while if you're doing it that way. Secondly, are you able to come back and file for adjustment of status, which that's sometimes a challenge because once your priority date is current, they generally won't allow you to extend your H-1B status for have. There's a rule against it essentially. Now we have argued plenty of cases like that, and they've actually been pretty giving on that subject of ability to approve an H-1B despite your priority date being current. Just different times things have
Yeah.
happened, but
What about your ability to enter the U.S.? Consulate reviews, inspection. We're dealing with a situation where somebody was revoked his visa because he didn't have a work letter
mhm,
at the border coming in. Who gets work letter at the border?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, if you get it, nice. But if you don't get it, show your paycheck stubs. That's good enough.
Sometimes, yeah, customs folks like to make stuff up. Well, I was thinking, my brain was going there just as you asked the question, and I'd say to myself, okay, well, H-1B is a dual intent visa, meaning the consulate shouldn't care about your priority date being current, and issuing you a non-immigrant visa. You know, the customs folks, those guys are a bit of a roll of the dice, I guess, because those guys can make up their own rules, and you're very limited in your ability to challenge them. But for me, I think it still comes back to whether or not you can get an H-1B approval. You know, there it's should you wait until your H-1B, your priority date is current, and try to come back on H-1B, or should you wait right before your priority date is current and try to come on H-1B visa? Smart money is you file that H-1B before your priority date is current because you should, because it increases your chance of getting that approval. And once the H-1B is approved, odds are you're going to get that visa to come back to the U.S. No doubt. Well, sometimes doubt, but
So I mean, um, economy is not terrible, but it's not great.
yeah,
It's right there in the middle. It's stagnant. The market is doing well. Interest rates are still high. Inflation is pushing up. Feds do not want to reduce interest rate. All that is weighing on the economy, and they want to slow down the economy. The federal government wants to slow down the economy because they think it's too hot.
yeah,
Unemployment is too difficult. But now I think it's reversing. They're seeing now, for Wall Street Journal to come out and say, "Hey, computer science graduates are not getting jobs. What the heck?"
yeah,
That's big. That's big news.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, Yeah, that's really kind of it, right? Right. I mean, it comes back coming back around to sort of where we started our conversation. You've had a good conversation when you come back to where you started it at,
Yeah.
and all these things. When you're dealing with that, it's again audits from the Department of Labor. If economy bad, uh, employment immigration is gets interesting. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, obviously, if you're a graduate from Cornell or Ivy League, you're going to have a job. But now, beyond that, which is the majority,
you know.
um, they're saying that it's going to be difficult. Um, um, so, like, developers have been dropped by 30%. They're saying 30% of the jobs of developers are gone from pre-pandemic levels. They never recovered.
Yeah.
Um, so and then also the number of people graduating has increased 40% in the last 4 or 5 years, topping 100,000 a year.
Wow.
So that's a lot. That's a lot of numbers, and that's of course competing with immigrants coming in to America to get these jobs. And who is going to win that battle
Well,
when the government comes to decide the application in their mind? Well, are you taking an American job here? Our kids are not getting jobs.
in the H-1B process, there's no labor certification requirement. There's a labor condition application.
There is for entry level.
Yeah, well,
There is for entry level below 60,000, and that 60,000 is an outdated number. Congress can quickly update that 60,000 to a $90,000.
yeah. The last
You know,
administration, threatened to do sort of things along those
and
lines,
then
raising the
and
H-1B
then
job levels. Yeah,
and for those who don't know what that means, it means that you have to prove good faith effort that there are no qualified American workers before you apply for an H-1B.
yeah,
The threshold is $60,000. Nobody gets paid less 60,000 or less
yeah.
anymore because this is a 1995.
Sort of number. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean,
it's an old number.
imagine just if we had to do recruitment every time an IT person needed an extension or a new H-1B visa. uh
Yeah. I
it
mean, think
just
about the discouragement
yeah,
of U.S. workers in getting H-1Bs if they take this 60,000 and throw it and easy make it 90,000.
yeah,
Adjusted.
yeah,
90,000 Midwest, 110,000 California, whatever.
yeah.
Yep. So 6:23, Brian. We need to answer questions.
I
So
agree.
layoffs are here, um, uh, coupled by the environment that we're seeing, and people saying computer science majors not finding jobs in the U.S. We are cautiously cautious, Brian.
I
I'm not
like
going
it.
to say pessimistic. We're cautiously cautious about what to come. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep you guys updated. This is the time we take questions. Um, we take a different approach in taking these questions. This is not yes, no. This is just we kind of take the question and answer areas around the question, trying to have a discussion. And you may hear a different opinion sometime. Brian may give an answer, and he may read it in one way. I can read it in a different way. You get two different answers. The idea is to educate you. It's not for you to learn something so you can make a decision on your case. You really need to hire a lawyer that can help you with your case, who knows all the facts of the case and all the circumstances, which we would do not have the privilege of knowing, answering these on the fly, reading a three sentences on
Yeah,
YouTube. But we will do our best in trying to kind of educate you, and that's really the idea.
yeah.
So no attorney-client relationship established. Don't sell the house because Brian said something or Sam said something. With
Yeah,
that,
that's
let's
a
take the
little
first
bit
one.
better. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't like it all being put on Brian. It's
exactly.
stressful.
Yes, stressful.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, first one, Brian, take it.
So, from Tech Dreamer, hi. My friend is planning to travel and come back on AP and continue work on H-1B. He has AP and EAD approval through his wife. He wants to change the employer and wants to maintain his H-1B status. And coming along here, can he transfer his H-1B to another employer after entrance on AP? Should the transfer H-1B first he transfer H-1B first and then travel? Will H-1B transfer impact on his I-45 application as he is dependent? So, Sam, we got to get out our immigration time machine and travel back to that memo from the year 2000 or so as to what the government says about this, right?
On travel, on portability of the H-1B and the portability of the stamp, etc., etc. They can enter on a. Yes, interesting questions, indeed. And that memo is a very interesting memo. I don't know if you remember it, Brian,
Yeah.
but I think it does say that you. Of course, he's not saying it does say that you can file a transfer and travel, and be allowed to re-enter. Also allowed to get a stamp up to the I-94 date of the of the current H-1B that you have.
Yeah.
So there is a mechanism for Tech Dreamer's friend to file an H-1B, travel, and come back. There is a mechanism to do that. The question that he asked prior to that is, should he come back on advanced parole and then change jobs? And I think implied in that question, at least as I read it, you may read it differently,
Mhm.
is that he has no intention of joining the prior employer. He wants to enter on advanced parole and immediately proceed to file an H-1B transfer, as I'm reading it.
I'm not reading it that way.
If you go back to the previous language, the
Yeah.
previous, can you go back one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So he says, I'm planning to travel and come back on AP and continue to work on H-1B, but not for the employer, as he has approved AP and EAD approval through his wife. He wants to change the employer and wants to maintain his H-1B status. So for me, I'm reading it, he wants to come back, and as he arrived to the United States, proceed to file an H-1B transfer without
Okay.
joining the employer. That's I'm reading it, but
Sure.
you should read it opposite to me and answer it that way.
Okay. Well, for me, I am reading, hey, I'm changing employers regardless, right? I
Agreed.
have some flexibility and I want to be able to travel. And clearly, I'm reading between the lines here. This individual does not want to go for stamping, right? Probably a pain in the butt, to get a stamp. So they basically want to be able to use the advanced parole and want to keep H-1B status the entire time, right? And the memo, which I happen to have pulled up here while you were talking there, so if I seemed distracted, it was because of that. They
No,
say,
you did a good job.
yeah,
I thought you were focused on my answer.
I looked really, really
Yeah,
intense.
intent, exactly.
An alien who was an H1 or L1 non-immigrant, but who was paroled pursuant to a grant of advanced parole, may apply for extension of H1 or L status if there is a valid approved petition. And that's what it says for this answer this question. I think the bottom line, maintaining H-1B status is difficult in this scenario because you're entering as a parolee. If you enter as a parolee, the only way to get back on H-1B status is to file an extension. Now, an interesting thing, Sam, is extensions can be a change of employer, can't they?
Yes. I think he just needs to join the employer. The first
Well,
employer that then he can file it next day.
Oh yeah. So basically, state your factual scenario. So
See, he re-enters the U.S. on advanced parole.
Yep.
Now he wakes up in the morning.
Yep.
He have breakfast.
Yep.
Now, what does he do? He contact employer number 2 and file for an H-1B transfer, or does he join employer number 1 and then the following day file for an H-1B transfer?
I think that you're more conservative.
You can skip the breakfast too if you want.
I like breakfast. It's my favorite meal. Such variety. I would think that I think they would approve it if you came back and just filed the H-1B with employer 2. But
well, let me. I'm not going to challenge you on that because you have 2 qualifiers in your answer.
Sure.
You have an I think.
Yeah.
And you have I would approve it.
Yeah.
What is the likelihood of them approving it if he reported to the first employer for a short period first? Does that increase or decrease?
Well, see, here's where I'm stuck, Sam, and I'm not gonna. This is me dodging your question temporarily.
That's fine.
So the when they come about, the whole policy about honoring your H-1B status when you come back is about leaving with one employer, exiting, entering on advance parole, and coming back and 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 rejoining that same employer, which is why I favor that scenario, and that's probably why you favor that same scenario.
Yes.
But and that's got to be the more conservative one. But
Yes.
this scenario, this policy never covers the concept of, it says we're on your H-1B. It never covers the concept of a change of employer in this scenario, and that's the thing that flummoxes me. So I think they'd probably approve you if you came back, rejoined employer one, and then filed a change of employer. But it's not covered by their policy. I think I give it a pretty good chance.
I would say yes. If he joined the first employer, I would give it more than 85%.
Oh yeah, I would probably give it more than that, because I don't think USCIS knows their own policy very, very well, and I think the policy is probably more permissive than is written. It's just it's the sort of thing where if somebody asked me that question, I would say you're kind of walking on water out there. You don't.
Can he come back on advanced parole and not join employer one or previous employer and then transfer?
It's not written. This policy is written. It's not written that way. It's written about the same. It's two different questions in this policy memo written about returning to the employer from which you left. Yeah.
So that's a little bit more risky.
Yeah. Again, I think they might, but I don't think they really know what they're doing.
Well, we agree.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
Yes.
I thought we were gonna have a fight.
So we spent a lot of time on that one. Thank you for the great question, Tech Dreamer. Here's this one from Morale. Hi, Sam and Brian. Great work. I have a valid H-1B with 100% work from home address. Now I'm moving to another town in the same MSA in same county, but has a 30-mile away. Can I use the same H-1B for visa interview? I presume this individual means H-1B, approval notice.
30 miles, same MSA.
Yep.
Oof, I'd like to know where you live.
Yeah.
There ain't a whole lot of those around.
I don't know. I figure your Los Angeles, kind of area. That's that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, you're in the same MSA. Is that H-1B still valid?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I agree. Now, with the asterisks of, going for a visa interview, sometimes those folks at the consulate, get demanding. And they get, historically, as long as I've been doing this job, it's just a very consistent thing, is sometimes the consulates get unhappy if they think your H-1B is out of sync with reality. Sometimes they get angry if you are on a different client that's on than on your H-1B. If you're a consultant, and it's not impossible that they could do that. That they could.
So how would you recommend? How can you advise someone dealing in that situation for a while? What would you tell him you should do to be ready for a scenario like this?
So,
you gave him a problem without giving him a solution.
Okay,
that's not cool.
All right. Well, so my first answer, Sam, is, could you file an H-1B amendment, right? And I would say you could, but it's not necessary, because policy clearly indicates that you shouldn't, that you don't need to. It's the Simeo Solutions policy memo, right? Fine. I think you just go in there armed with good information, maybe a letter from your attorney, just in case you need it. Yeah. It's a very fun concept. It's the secret letter in the secret pocket in your jacket when you go to the interview. It's a letter you have in case you need it, but you probably won't.
In this pocket, if they ask question number one.
Yeah, this one.
In this pocket, if they ask question number two, and then I got one over here. They ask question number 1 and 2. You have a third one.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, having a letter pre-written for the anticipated question is always smart business with the consulate, because it also should they're prepared, and they appreciate the fact that you're helping them, steering them in the right direction. They don't want to do a bad job. They want to make good decisions, but sometimes they're uninformed, or don't have the time.
They process, a whole alphabet's worth of visas, not just H-1B.
They don't have the time, and then you help them. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Good one.
Yeah. Here's a somewhat off the beat question from Krishna K. Any chances of religious worker visa getting current in the near future? I haven't done a religious worker green card in a long time, and they're fun because you get to meet, I don't know, you get to meet interesting people, right?
People who are close to God, and you're getting them a green card. What a wonderful thing.
And you get closer to them, and thereby you get closer to God,
Yourself by
yourself.
proxy.
Yeah,
Well, it's very difficult to have. I have not looked at numbers for religious worker visa,
I'm already
but
opening up the visa bulletin myself. Yeah.
yeah, but very interesting to know that they are backed up. You would
Yeah.
think.
Well, religious workers, I'm seeing final action dates in November 2020 across the board. So a little bit like about 3.5, a little bit between 3.5 to 4 years.
That's a
You
long
know,
time.
that is a long time. And I guess Sam, it's been a while since I've done it. I've done one. Do they have they have time limitations on religious workers, don't they? I don't.
The R1 visa.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that would be a challenge.
yes, but a lot of these religious worker visas, they're waiting to come in. I mean, um, to the U.S. and
Hmm.
so I'm looking here at the visa bulletin. Um,
Yeah, again, it's been a while since Sam. This is how I get another R1 in my lap, just by talking about
mm,
R1s a lot. If I say it,
yes,
the deity of choice will set one in my lap. Yeah, I think there's a 5-year limit on R1 workers, so that's a problem.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's 7% of the total green cards for employment base.
yeah,
So if you do the math, 140,000 times 7%, so that's 9,800. Decent number.
yeah,
Um, but you notice that it is backlogged worldwide on a consistent basis. So there's no really higher number coming from one country or the other.
yeah. It's
Uh,
very interesting
yeah, so
that
it's
conceptually.
10,000 a year is a bunch of religious worker. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't really,
Um,
I don't really, you don't really, do you really see that out in the community? I guess you do if you get immigrants bringing, more immigrants in the United States. There's more religions in the United States and more likelihood of international religious workers. As
well, a lot of air immigrants who are either Christian, Muslims, Sikh, or any other religion.
Yeah,
They want their church here. They want their representatives here.
yeah,
Um, you know, and I've been to my fair share of ethnic uh, institutions and churches here in the U.S. Uh, through the community, and I am shocked how many
well,
immigrant religious workers that are here in the
well,
U.S.
I just had this sort of great epiphany. I'm just thinking about, well, the religious workers I've done have been through, domestic Christian churches bringing somebody over as sort of a transfer. But I just had what's one of the biggest religious institutions in the world, the Catholic Church. I can't help but think that those guys might be taking advantage of that a lot. Just here in Columbus alone, Sam, there's the Josephinian, which is like the pontifical college. I imagine they probably have their own share of religious workers coming.
Our community here is not big on religious workers. I mean, I'll invite you to go to New York,
Sure,
Miami,
sure.
Michigan. Detroit. They have the Chaldean Catholics
Hmm.
there. Who, by the way, the director of USCIS is from that denomination.
Hmm.
They're Catholic, and then the Muslims, of course, they're a huge Muslim community. And they're all of them need they're religious workers.
Well, I would think it would be very interesting. I don't think they're going to publish it anywhere. Some sort of, religious denomination breakdown of where religious worker visas go. It'd just be kind of an interesting thing to read. And I would bet that again, Catholic Church, big institution all around the world. I bet they take a good chunk of them.
Yeah.
Well, let me. So
And,
sorry.
and I need to correct myself. So the religious workers of the 9,800, the set aside is 5,000
Hmm.
for religious workers.
Hmm. So I guess we have to answer Krishna's question. Sorry, Krishna, you gave us an interesting topic we don't usually talk about in this venue much, and we couldn't resist, opining on it. Um, it's really hard to predict the visa bulletin in general. Um, And I guess what Sam and I, we came in a roundabout way. We thought of, wow, look at all these sources of religious workers. And I guess, Sam, I guess a good way to think about where the visa bulletin's going is to think about where it's been. And I'm just going to do a little bit of visa bulletin time travel, go back to June 2023. I'm curious as to where it was. If we're in November 2020 right now, I'm going to go to June 2023. And where are those religious workers then? Oh, well, not that bad. It got, it was in September 2018, and now it's in November 2020, a year ago. Obviously, the visa bulletin does not move forward in a linear manner and certainly fluctuates, but it bodes well. I'm going to go back another 2 years and see where they are, but another year, excuse me. June of 2022. Final action date, religious workers. It was in May of 2017, so that's still a year there.
So you have also a subcategory called other religious workers, Brian,
Yeah.
and other religious workers are not the clergy. It's those that work in the church,
Mm-hmm.
translators,
Mm-hmm.
people who are teachers of religion. They teach religion.
Mm-hmm.
All these come in as religious workers.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to use that category is broader than just the clergy.
Yeah, I know. There's I think yeah. So there you go.
So with that, um, the 5,000 becomes a challenging
Yeah.
number to deal with because of just the sheer number of religious workers that could qualify in the EB4 category.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brian. Well, do you have a prediction for our friend here? Because I don't.
To get to current, I mean, I would expect at least 4 years. Frankly, if they're about 4 years behind, I don't think it's crazy to say that. I guess you really hope that the visa bulletin is going to move on a day by day basis is the bottom line, and less than that is more likely than reality. So, I mean, the bottom line for Krishna is I think you're looking at a wait of years. Which is
All
up
right.
next.
So let's jump in and talk to Hari Guru. He has a
Yeah,
question for you.
and Hari Guru has sort of pointed out something, and a report out from USCIS, which if I talk slow enough, we'll open up while I'm talking here, about pending adjustment
Inventory.
inventory. And
Share their thought on future visa bulletin movement.
yes,
Well, that is going to take a little bit more because I haven't looked at that report.
yeah, I will tell you, I am looking at this report. It sure is a bear of a report. I think we might. Well, Sam, one of the topics we were talking about before we were doing this. This is a multi-page spreadsheet. Well, Sam, I think we might have a good topic for the next week's conversation.
Trying to break it
Because
down.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
but
there
yeah,
is
a lot
Hari.
of information.
Congratulations, Hari. You've convinced me. I have it open on my computer here. I think I could spend the better part of a day, trying to parse this in its meaning,
Yeah.
and maybe that's what we will find some time to do in the next week.
Yes.
There you go. So,
All right.
yeah, let me see here from Sareen Haddad. Hi, I'm in EB3 unskilled workers. My priority date is 9/13/2022. If it's possible to be current in this year, thank you.
Rest of the world, I'm assuming.
Let me see here.
If that's the question,
I'm going to
because
presume rest of the world, yeah.
yeah, because otherwise it would be a long time.
Yes, EB3 unskilled other workers. I mean, that is about as backlogged as the religious worker category. It's in October 2020. Current, and with a priority date of 9/13/2022. Well, this person says EB3 unskilled workers. That's not really. There's what EB3. There's skilled workers and professionals, right? And then there's below that. There's other workers. I'm not having trouble
I
figuring
think it's
out.
the other workers.
You think?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess. Well, this person would be current if they were in one of the EB3 categories, because EB3 is in November 2022. So
Yeah.
it's got to be other workers.
Correct.
That's a tough one. I mean, you are really about 2 years off of current there. For this year, no. It is extremely unlikely this year. Why? Because this fiscal year, which ends on September 30th, because the Department of State has told us as such on the bottom of the visa bulletin, saying don't expect much movement, even expect retrogression in the rest of the world categories, as I think it says down here, right? Visa availability in the rest of the world, retrogression most likely in next month. So unfortunately, that means the dates are likely to go back for EB3 rest of the world in the next month. So I'm sorry to give you that news.
So I would give it 2 years at least.
Yeah. So here's a bit of a commentary about Schedule A occupations from Vicola Heron. We need more healthcare professions to be included in the Schedule A category, like medical laboratory scientist or clinical laboratory technologist.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, absolutely. But that is not something that they're discussing. I don't think.
Well, I have a friend who works in a medical laboratory, and I hear the job market's not great there.
And not only that, but also they're not high paid.
Yeah.
The salaries for these, which means tell me there's more demand here in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, but I do see some immigration in that area.
Yeah, we've done green cards in that category, but it's just been through labor certification. Frankly, it doesn't seem like it's a very large market. I mean, it seems like it's not high demand and not that big a. I mean, we've done. I can name a couple companies we've done those for, but just not in high volume. Yeah. Ooh, Ajay Shah is stretching his legs. Has a three-parter for us here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So filed I-45 under EB3 in 2020 with Company A. Priority date is September 2012. Interfiled to EB2, approved. So current under EB2. Laid off with current Company A. Last date is on June 15th. Have EAD approved until June of 2025. After June 15th, I'll be considered automatically on EAD, or do I have to file an I-9 with Company A to switch to EAD to H-1B? Well, let's answer that question right here, Sam. Whose responsibility is I-9, Sam?
Employer's responsibility to file the I-9, and filing the I-9 is not really switches you. It's one of the evidence.
Yeah.
Potentially, I mean, if you file the I-9, I guess it could be that you can make an argument if they cancel the H-1B or they did not renew the H-1B.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That'd be an obligation of your employer, but if your employer is laying you off, they're not going to do an I-9 for you. You're just so. I guess I'll put it a different way. If you're not on H-1B status and you have a pending green card, what keeps you legally present in the United States? It's the fact that you have a pending green card. That I-45 receipt notice allows you to stay. We call it a period of stay authorized by the Attorney General, PUSAG, that you are allowed to stay while you have a pending green card application. That's that. Yeah.
The how to get legally on employment authorization document is to use the employment authorization document. Is to take a job without an H-1B.
Yeah.
Is to go in and accept employment, whether self-employment with another company, and you tell them I'm authorized to work and here's my card.
Yep.
Then you become on there's no filing, but the employer has to register the I-9 because that's their obligation. It's not designed to switch you from EAD to H-1B or back. That's not what the firm does.
Yeah, it's just about the employer making sure you're authorized to work. It doesn't really switch you around.
Yeah.
I would also note that Ajay, just because you're laid off in the 15th, provided you have time left in your H-1B I-94, you're still in the H-1B grace period for time after that, at least up to 60 days.
60 days, yes. Yeah. Which he may not care about keeping the H-1B.
No, that's fine. Yeah, perfectly fine.
But he may. Now that he knows.
Yes.
Thanks to you.
Yes. Well, he's
There's
not
three
done,
or three here.
He's not done knowing yet. There's more for him to know. If I'm unable to find a job for the next few months, let's say October 2024. Is that still okay? As I have an approved EAD, I'm concerned to maintain my status with my priority date becoming current sometime this year. So
What is he good candidate? What is the perfect? What I mean, something screaming here that Ajay should consider. What do you think it is, Brian?
Self-employment.
Self-employment.
Self-employment. I guess I would underline, even maybe I understands now, but I would underline the answer. Even the EAD doesn't allow you to stay in the United States. The EAD is evidence of your ability to authorization to work. But what keeps you lawfully allowed to stay in the United States? It's the having a properly filed pending green card application. It's technically not status in our immigration attorney terms, but it allows you to stay while the case is pending. And while your case is pending, you can get advanced parole so you can work. You can get an EAD so you can, advanced parole so you can travel, excuse me, an EAD so you can work. So just the fact, just the fact that you have a pending employment, a properly filed pending employment-based green card keeps you here. There's no requirement that you file for the EAD or AP at all. You can just file that employment-based green card and kick back.
Yep,
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
So Ajay, consider self-employment as an option for you right now. If you could not find a job, would work very well for you. I think with the number of years of experience you have. Um, what was his priority date?
2012, September 2012, I think.
So he has 12 years experience in the field minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy is 10 to 15 years experience. He can most certainly do self-employment.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that priority date. I'm curious about it. September 20. He's in EB2. He's in EB3. I'm curious as to how close he is to current here. EB3.
He said 1 year. He thinks 1 year.
Oh yeah, his oh geez, the EB3 final action date for India is August 22nd, 2012. He's so close to current.
Yeah, so definitely got to do self-employment or something.
Yeah,
on it right now and start doing the documentation, because if you're called for an interview in 3 months, you need to have at least the legwork.
Yeah,
you don't want to show up and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job."
Yeah. Now you want to be able to have that supplement J. Now the average USCIS officer, you hand them the supplement J, they'll look at you like you're speaking French, but still.
Take a lawyer with you for sure.
Yeah.
To educate them.
Yeah.
Some of them are very smart.
This is true. Some of them know about employment stuff. Some of them go, "What? Supplement what?" Yeah. So, Sam, I'm talking too much. Stop me,
No, that's
please.
okay. You're doing good. All right, Nishab. Hi, Sam and Brian. Once someone gets an EB2 based green card, when is it okay to switch employers? Are there any other restrictions on EB2 based green card? That is probably the most asked question. And let me tell you why it is the most asked question, why people struggle with it. Because people want clarity. And what they get from the lawyer is none of that. They don't get clarity on this answer, as I am about to give you non-clarity on that answer.
Same,
and I'm going to sound like I'm giving you clarity, and you're going to say, "Wow, this guy's convinced," but I don't get it. I don't get it. Just tell me when to quit, man. Just tell me when I can do it. There is no number, date, guideline in the regulations. However, there are guidelines elsewhere in other regulations. And because USCIS allows you to transfer to a new employer after 180 days of filing the I-485, most people say, really, it is 180 days because they've indirectly told you it is 180 days. So generally speaking, yes. If you are the aggressive type on 180 day one plus one, get out of there. If you're the conservative type, 180 days plus 60, get out of there. If that's what you want. As long as you were in good faith, wanting to stay permanently at the time, not permanently meaning forever. Permanent employment doesn't mean forever.
That's the best point you can make here.
Yeah, that means at that time you had no other intention or plans to move elsewhere, and evidenced by the fact that you stayed for 180 days. And now you said 180 days have passed. I have other opportunities. I'm going to move on. Fine. I don't see a problem. I have yet to see a single case in which USCIS have challenged somebody who moved after 180 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Was
But
it even
does the regulation say 180 days? It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is you're a permanent resident. The permanent when you get a green card in your hand, you're allowed to live wherever you want, work wherever you want. You know, but
But there's a commitment.
yeah,
We
well,
filed
yeah,
the green card
yeah,
for you, and that's the
yeah,
the overall feeling is
right,
180 days is not going to be a problem.
yeah,
USCIS have never, and they're saying, well, what about when you get for citizenship? I've never seen anybody ask
yeah.
that question
They
during
don't,
the citizenship.
think about
They don't even.
that.
They don't even. It doesn't even come up.
Yeah, what
Not
do you
even
do for a living?
remotely.
Maybe, but not.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I got my green card on the computer science. Now I'm working as a pilot mechanic because this is what I like to do.
Yeah.
Okay, sure,
I
no
mean, I
problem.
guess fundamentally, Sam, they'd be looking at they'd be looking for fraud essentially, right? Because you took your green card saying you were going to join this company on a indefinite permanent basis, and well, you know, but you left 3 weeks later. Clearly,
Yep,
you weren't.
yep,
That's really what they're talking about. Though that's what
yep.
you're playing with. Yeah. So I guess that Empire here has read the pending inventory report here because what they're saying is USCIS has stated that they have 14,560 EB3 rest of the world pending I-485 as of February 2024. Based upon that number, what's the percent chance are that either of the file date or final action date gets to July 2023 in October? So
So the 114,560,
14,000, yeah, 14,005, yeah, 14560, yeah,
yeah,
14,560, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, I mean, number one, we're talking adjustments, right?
Yeah, that seems to be
I-45.
that they have pending. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just the February
So,
2024 though.
so the first question I would like to know, are these principal 485 or this principal and family? I'm assuming principal and family because it makes a big difference,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If you're
So
multiplying that by one and a
to,
half, sure, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So let's assume it's principal and family,
yeah,
right? That represent 10% of the yearly allocation of green cards,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
And that does not include India,
mhm,
China,
yep,
Philippines,
yep,
or Mexico, because these are not rest of the world.
yep,
So that represents a little bit more than 10%, maybe
mhm,
14%, because these four countries are taken out, right?
mhm,
Um, so to me, that's 3 to 4 months worth of processing of green cards for the rest of the world.
yeah,
But beyond that, so
yeah. I mean, we have this thing where we say to ourselves, it's really hard to predict the visa bulletin, And for me, I think you're kind of not enough information. That's as of February 24. This is from the report, that came, and that's already a couple months old. And what they've been doing, they've had visa availability. They've been approving cases, since then. I
well, I would be interested to see if there is more than one report with numbers to see how much they chew through,
yeah.
you
Well,
know,
I
how
have the
much do they
report, Sam.
consume. So it's a lot more difficult than a single number. That's
Yeah.
where really what I'm looking at here instead of getting into the details. It's a lot simpler than a simple number. We've learned that, right? It's
Yeah.
impossible to project. I mean, some people may be good at it. I mean, I can try, but I'm 50-50 when I try.
Well, yeah. As soon as we start trying to predict where these things are going, so I know, Sam, that somebody's going to come and say, "Oh, Brian, you didn't think about X, Y, Z." And I'm going
That's
to say,
right.
"Of course, X, Y, Z."
Right.
And then as soon as we say we added X, Y, Z to their analysis, Brian, but have you considered A, B, C?
Yeah.
And it's not.
And then go on and on and on. And it's just impossible because that's not what we do.
Yeah,
We're lawyers. We're not statisticians.
yeah, we take, we have to take the visa bulletin as it comes, because and, we predicted a little bit sometimes. We over the last couple of years we've worried about massive visa availabilities, planning our ability to handle that. I mean, there's a little bit of thinking about this. We were following the visa bulletin very carefully. The rollovers. And there's a definite value in that, but to predict where the visa bulletin is going to go, I mean, I guess our big critical insight for the last couple of years is low activity in family visas at the consulates abroad equals quicker moving employment, more employment visas equals more demand equals we're going to get buried in adjustment of status cases. But getting those dates there, I mean, I guess we're required to obsess over it a little bit, Sam, because we're a bunch of immigration attorneys. But you cannot influence it. You know,
Yep.
it is what it is. Yeah.
7 o'clock, Brian. Let's take the next question.
Yes. So from Cesar Augusto Amaya Suarez, do you think the retrogression in EB3 will be as hard as the last fiscal year? It was like 3 years, and there's a similar question here from Raj saying, how much do you think the retrogression will do in July for EB2 for the rest of the world?
I personally don't think it's going to be hard, a very harsh retrogression.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a soft landing.
Yeah.
Now that I said that,
turns out massive, decade backward.
Yeah.
Sam Shihab wrong on the
headlines.
headline.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Hard to predict. I mean,
I think these people have been very cautious moving the things forward. They just move them forward a little too aggressive, so they don't have wastage.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna just pull it back just a little bit.
I think the worst. I think logically, in my mind, the worst it should go back is to where it started at the beginning of the fiscal year. If they've cleared out what they thought, if the dates reflected what they thought they had available, they gave visas to those people. You move back so you don't get any more beyond what you took in this year. But there I go making predictions again.
Yes. Well, it's past 7 o'clock. Thank you guys for listening us today. 6 o'clock next week. Brian wants to talk charts and numbers. I'm not sure I'm 100% on board.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, Sam. I think next weekend is Memorial Day, a day which we may not be in our office. I don't know whether we are.
Yes, and in a couple weeks I'm going on vacation, but we will make sure that whatever I am, I will be involved in broadcasting.
We're going to do that too. Fantastic. All right.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully it was helpful. And we will come out with a topic next week at 6 o'clock, and join us again and ask your questions. We're happy to answer.